Hey guys, Andrew from Bearable Traders and Peak Capital Trading Office. In this video, we want to have a discussion about 5 trading tips that can help your trading. And these are psychology tips. With me here, I have Michael Bauer. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew.
So Mike and I have been working together for almost 3 years. He's a retired US military Major Marines.
Yes, you got it right this time.
This time, yeah. You served in Middle East. Thank you for your service. And Mike has been developing courses for us in both Bearable Traders and Peak Capital Trading. And I personally look up into Mike. I've learned a lot from him. He's a family man. He's a very successful person, loves for his country, loves what he does. And I really, really, really value you. Thank you so much for working with us. And if you guys have never had the chance to talk to him, reach out to him, mike@bearabletraders.com. Mike and I co-authored 2 books together. One of them was The Mastering Trading Psychology, and one of them was Introduction to Trading Psychology. Both of them are available on Amazon. Unfortunately, I don't have the first book that Mike wrote, Introduction to Trading Psychology, but you should definitely check it out. Mike, you came for a visit, and we want to have this discussion together.
Yes.
We know that traders lose money, most of them. It's like high-performing field, and it's difficult, and you have to be always in that top mindset. What are the tips that you can give people to improve their trading psychology and their chance of becoming a successful and consistently profitable trader?
I would say the number one tip is something that most traders do not think about, and that is truly understanding why you decided to trade in the first place, right? Oftentimes we get wrapped into how do I trade, how do I get this strategy, how do I take an entry, how do I do trade management? But let's be honest, we're all human beings, right? And we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to fail at certain things that we do in trading. But it's understanding your trading why that's going to get you through any obstacle, any emotional distress that you have to achieve your goals. I'd like to tell the traders that I talk to kind of my story about how I got into trading and decided this is what I was going to do. Like Andrew said, 23 years in the service. I retired and I was planning to be a forensic accountant. That was what I was going to do. And then I found your book in the Middle East of all places on...
I know the story that you emailed me. The book was in the base, dirty on it. Yeah.
Dirt, everything, picked it up. And that book, basically, I decided this is what I was going to do. So in order to accomplish that, I had a drive that I wanted to be a family man that you mentioned. Early on when I retired, I want to be there for my wife. I want to be there for my kids. I want to be there for my son's graduation. Because in the military, let's be honest, you miss all that.
Yeah, you don't.
You're told to go somewhere, you go. You don't have an option in it. And I didn't want that anymore in my life. It was the absolute passion. So that why drove me to learn about trading. It drove me to deal with my losses early on. It drove me to overcome and not worry that I was struggling, that I wasn't where I wanted to be after 3 months, right? We all want to be millionaires 3 months into trading, but I wasn't there. And it becomes frustrating, and we all start to learn that. But it was my why, that it was, I don't care how I do this. I don't care how many obstacles you throw in my way. I am going to accomplish this because my family and having choices is more important than any emotional distress, any failure, any trade going against me, any news breaking that cost me to fail out of my trade. The why drove me. And when you start with that why, the how and the when doesn't matter anymore. You just ignore it.
It's amazing that you said that. So the why for you was to be with your family, because after 23 years of not being around, you really wanted in retirement to be. You didn't want to have another career starting after retirement and to be away. For me, it was traveling the world. It's very interesting. For me, it wasn't family. I wanted to travel the world. I grew up in Iran. It was too small for me. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to be able to travel anywhere at any time that I want. And I eventually got it. You know, all the people who know me, I travel a lot and I love it. It's my passion. It drives me, it serves my soul going into the different mountains. So people should find their why.
Absolutely.
And money making is probably not a good why.
No.
Just because there's so many better ways to make money probably, but
easier for sure.
Easier for sure as well, yeah. That's a good point. So that's a very interesting point. The first point that you should remember is the why. What would be the second one, if you say?
The second one, believe it or not, has nothing really to do with trading psychology. It has to do with your strategy itself. You have to be 100% confident in that strategy. You have to believe that when you put on a trade, that it doesn't matter what's going to happen. It may go in your direction, it may go against you. You have technical stop outs, you stop out where you're supposed to, you take partials where you're supposed to, and the market's going to do whatever it wants. And you just execute that strategy. And that trade works, great. You move on to the next one. It works, great. Then you have a loss. Oh, well, I know that another trade will work. And then you have another loss. And you're like, I don't care. I need the next trade. So you put that one on and boom, that one works out. But you have to have the confidence that your strategy works, because if you try to transition to live trading without having any confidence or a slight doubt in your mind that that strategy or that setup does not work, when you put your actual money on the line, emotions are going to go through you like you've never believed. And when you fail, your mind's going to blame the strategy, because let's be honest, do we ever want to blame ourselves for anything? No. Heck no, it's always somebody else's fault. Could have been my fault that I put on the trade and it went against me, right? So your mind naturally is going to go to that strategy and blame it, and it causes what I call a death cycle, where you develop a strategy, whether it's in sim or if you're an experienced trader and you've been trading a while, you just trade smaller share size that doesn't bother you, right? And it produces the results you want. So you jump in live and then you fail. And your mind tells you it's the strategy.
You know, Mike, this is very interesting because I'm a climber. I'm a mountain climber. And the type of climbing that we do is you are using rope, and usually you are on belay. Either someone leads, put the protection, and then you have the rope, you're on belay, you're climbing. And the first time that I did, I couldn't climb even one step. I was just holding the rock. And then my buddy who was teaching me, he told me that trust the system, trust the gear, come up, trust it. And that word he shouted, because he was a little bit higher than me, he was shouting at me, trust the process. And that's the trick to climbing. You have to trust the system. You have to trust the fact that if you fall, your rope is going to catch, and you have to trust that your buddy that is up there has already set up the anchor and has done it well. There's a chance that he might make a mistake, but if you have that mentality that system doesn't work, there's no way that you can climb even one step. That's what you're saying.
Agree.
Trust your system. You know, you have the strategy, you have to trust the system, and no matter what the result, your system has been proven from the education that you have, and then you have the positive expectancy. Did I get the second right? This is the one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's all about trusting the process. And when you have that confidence in that strategy, whether you win or whether you lose doesn't matter anymore, because you know the next trade.
You discussed this in your books, the Introduction to Trading Psychology. Yes. So I had the honor to be co-author for part of it. So for those of you who want to learn more about this stuff, you can definitely look into that. What's the third one, we would say?
The third one I would say is you got to find out how you value money. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I don't care what country you're in. There's a piece of paper in your country that controls every single thing you do in your life. Every decision, right? You need money to buy food. You need money to have a roof over your head, right? It provides safety, and it provides opportunity, and it provides choices. So you need to know how you value that, because values affect your attitudes, which in turn affect your behaviors. And how that affects us in the market is if we value money in a way that we can't lose it. When we lose money, it triggers an emotional response of anger or fear or frustration, which then translates into us behaving poorly in the market. It leads to overtrading, it leads to revenge trading. And if you're successful in having a whole bunch of wins and you're on a winning streak, but you think that making that money is too easy and you don't deserve it, well then guess what? You're probably going to take a dumb trade and give a major portion of that money back because your mind can't handle making easy money in a minute or two or even a day.
So trading large size is probably causing that issue because the amount of money that goes up and down with every tick is a lot.
Yeah.
But if someone trades very small amount, like $5 risk, it's not really meaningful to trade very small size. You have to have that fear and anxiety when you're trading anyways, yeah? But the point that you're saying is that the money shouldn't be that important for you when you're trading.
It shouldn't be that important, but you got to understand why it's not that important to you, right? Because think back to when you were first trading and you had the money there, and when you lost big, it affected you initially, right? But then after you realize, you know what? I can survive. It's just money. It comes, it goes. It's a piece of paper. What effect does this really have on my life? And when you can get to that point and you understand that that money doesn't control you, you get to choose whether you're happy or whether you're sad. It no longer bothers you that you lose $5, you lose $5 million. It doesn't bother you anymore because you know it's going to come and go.
That's a very, very important point, the relationship with the money, because, and it changes over time. Earlier, a couple of years ago, I had a really, really bad loss, was on Yelp, that the company Yelp. I don't know if it's still public or not. Do you remember that?
I remember that because that's the trade that changed how I decided to trade.
So for those of you who don't know, the Yelp was gap down. I think it was a bad earning, gap down, and I shorted that, squeezed up above the VWAP. So you got to stop that. It's just, that's the fundamental. And I just kept adding on that, and until I ran out of the money. Almost all of my margin buying power was on there, and it just kept going up higher and higher. And eventually, I had a really bad loss, $7,000. It was if I remember correctly, which was a lot of money in that time for me. It was like we're talking about 2018 or something. That was a lot of money for me, and that was really painful. But now, until my biggest loss, which you all know was on TNA, was about $1.5 million, that the value doesn't matter. Your relationship with the money you have to work on that. That in that time, $7,000 was a loss, but it didn't kill me, but made me a better trader. I realized that I can have that loss and I'm still alive. That $1.5 million loss was very painful, but it didn't kill me. I'm still alive and I'm still making money, and I still, I'm sure in 2023 I'm gonna make it back. But that's the point that I think you're trying to make, that you're not trading to lose money, but if you lost, just have a good relationship with that loss. It's okay, you make it back, it's part of the process. What's the third point, if you were saying?
Fourth point.
Fourth point.
So the fourth point is understanding that as a trader, you operate in an environment of uncertainty. Whereas for the majority of people coming into trading, we operate in certainty environments. We get to dictate what happens at our job. We get to decide what we're going to eat. If you see a problem occurring in your job, right, you can interject yourself and you can stop a bad situation from getting worse. That's completely the opposite of what happens in the market. You don't have the power to control whether the market goes up or whether the market goes down. There's bigger players in the market that control that. So when you see something bad happen, you have nobody but yourself to blame for it. You can't pawn it off on somebody. You can't blame the market. It's just an uncertain environment. So our emotions towards uncertainty are not good. I mean, it's human nature. We were born with this drive, primal fear that when we're faced with uncertainty, we need to either fight for survival or we need to run and get out of Dodge so that we survive. It's all a survival instinct. And even today, our mind still thinks that way when it's faced with uncertainty. So when you put on a trade, it's uncertain whether the trade's going up or down. Your mind doesn't think that way. That portion of your mind's actually thinking, I'm going to die. How do I survive this situation? What is the easiest way for me to do this? Either I'm going to fight it or I'm going to run by getting out of the trade. And you got to learn to be able to recognize that your mind is going to do that every time. Recognize it, calm yourself down, and then focus on the present moment and what the market is telling you so that you can make educated and informed decisions.
Thinking in probabilities is the topic that, like for example, in this book, there was a story of a guy from our community who was air traffic controller. And his job was to, make sure that the flights are in, order to land or take off. But that's the job that you have zero chance to make a mistake. That has to be 100% correct. Otherwise, it is a disaster. And he was saying, it is in this book, that I have this trouble of taking a trade because I don't know if it's going to work or not. And my mind cannot accept the consequence of being wrong. It's just after 20 years of being an air traffic controller, I just cannot accept my decision might be wrong. This is very important because in trading, your decision is always right. The market is uncertain. You make a trade, it might work or it might not work. You have to accept that there is a probability and you have to live based on the probability. If you have a good strategy and you trade and you make a good trade and you lose money, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just the concept of probability. You shouldn't, go into the conspiracy theory that, the market makers are doing that or algos are eating me, blah, 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 that type of thing. So it's very important to put your mind into the probability mindset. Like that's why gamblers, not specifically poker players, I think trading and poker has a lot in common because both of them are thinking in the probability concept.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you playing poker?
I do actually, blackjack. That's what I've been playing lately.
Yeah, blackjack. Blackjack is also the concept of probability.
Probabilities.
All probability, yeah. So what's the fifth one?
Well, you've been talking about it. It's thinking in probabilities. You have to be able to get your mind wrapped around that concept.
So wait a minute. What did I jump in from? What was the fourth one?
The fourth one, uncertainty.
Uncertainty. Oh yeah, uncertainty. Yes, you're right. So the fifth one would be probability. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's interesting. Yeah. So sorry. Go ahead.
So when you're thinking in probabilities, right? It comes from that trust, like everything we talked about before. You start with your why to get through any obstacles and fear that you have. Then you roll into making sure you have a good strategy, which transfers into, hey, I need to understand that if I lose money or make money, it doesn't change my way to live. Then you become in this environment that you know that you're operating with uncertainty. So no matter what happens, you can't control it. So now you focus in on probabilities. Hey, the probability of my trading strategy is I got a 60% probability that this trade's going to work out. That's better than a 50% probability. And I'm going to trade that over and over and over whenever I see those conditions exist. And the interesting thing about probabilities that I don't think a lot of people understand is when we look at probabilities, we think it's trade worked, trade didn't work, trade worked, trade didn't work, trade worked, trade didn't work, right? We think that is natural probabilities, and it's not. Probabilities actually come in streaks. So that's where in Vegas, right, the gamblers and everybody, they talk about being in that winning streak and then the losing streaks because it comes and it goes. And that's why the casinos are out for the long game because they know, hey, you know what? I may be losing money today, but over the course of the year, I know the probabilities are on my side that I'm going to make money. And the same thing's true in trading. We can have, because if you have a good, solid trading edge, you can go on a winning streak and have 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 trades in a row that are green, and then have a red one, and then that goes right into that 10, 15, 20 losers in a row. You're not doing anything wrong. But for traders, it is extremely difficult for them when you take 3 losses in a row to put that 4th trade on the same way, take a loss there, put the 5th one on the same way.
Loss, yeah.
Right? It's all those emotions that build up. But if you can do those 5 steps, you'll see your trading improve drastically.
Yeah, so a lot of people are asking me that each trade, the probability of each trade is different from the other trade. So they're independent probability. So why, if I have a max loss in the day, why should I stop trading? If I do 3 trades and all of them turns out to be a loss, assuming that they're all good trades, but just loss, why should I stop? Why I should not continue taking the trade? Because the probability is independent. My answer to them has always been that, the mindset. After three trades, yes, the 4th one totally could be the trade that just gives all of the losses back and become profitable. But you are now in a mindset that the decision making is now more hazy, and you've got to be very, very careful that you may not be a good trade, even though the probability is independent. So that's why you should stop. What's your recommendation for people who would say, hey, I had 4 losses, but the 5th one is completely independent from the other 4. This could be the one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. I don't say 4, I say 3. I trade a 5 trade rule is what I trade. If I get 3 losses in a row before 5, I stop. And if I can get to 5 trades, which, believe it or not, if you take 5 trades and you stop only when you get 3 in a row, there's only 4 scenarios out of 32 that you can't take 5 trades. Perfect. Which is, again, probabilities. So I know that. But when you get those 3 trades in a row that are losses, I don't care. You're not in the right mindset, because you may get into that trade. You're going to get out of the trade sooner than you want to.
You mess up the cycle.
And then you get mad because then it starts to run, and then you're just emotionally not there, right? And it could just be the simple fact that you're not in sync with the market that day. Or the market's just not going to trade choppy, that type of strategy on that day. And that's why you don't make your losses worse by continuing to try to make it back, because it just gets you emotional, and then you get into the revenge trading. But if you cut them short on those 3 days, and then when you don't get those 3 losses in a row, and you continue to take advantage of the days where you're reading the market good, your winning days are much larger than your losing days, which means over the course of the month and the year, you're going to have a positive sloping equity curve and making money.
That's good. Sometimes it's very important to know that the market, you mentioned something really nice. I was going to say market is choppy, but you said market is not for your strategy. And that's a better actually saying it, because market might be choppy for my strategy, which is mid cap or large cap indexes, but the same day it could be amazing for penny stock traders, like these low float runners, $1, $2, and that style. I used to follow some of the big traders in the community, in the YouTube, and they were penny stock traders. They're making really good money, and I was getting this FOMO that, I got to do that too. These guys are making money. But very soon I realized that their market, their sector is different. That's a different group of people, different group of algos are trading it. Doesn't necessarily mean if that sector is volatile, my sector, which is indexes and blue chip companies, are volatile as well. So I'm looking for my own market to come to me. So first of all, Mike, we should do this more often. Yes. I think there's so many things. We want to keep the video short. There's so many things that we can discuss. We can have it as a series. You can come to Vancouver. Mark stays with me. You can always come maybe every month, couple of times. I don't know. You feel free to come and we do this. But to recap, can you tell us that 5 point that you said every trader should remember to improve their trading psychology? So
absolutely. The first point is you should understand why you're trading in the first place. That's going to get you over any obstacles that you run into. The second point is make sure you have confidence in your strategy so that you can handle any type of losses because you know that it's going to work. And the third one is you got to make sure that you understand how you value money, because that will dictate your emotional response when you lose money or even make money, depending on how you value it. The fourth one is you need to make sure you understand you're operating in an environment that you don't control. No matter what you do, you cannot dictate what the outcome of that trade is going to be. So just accept it. And then last but not least, trade in probabilities. Understand that you're going to have streaks that you're winning, streaks that you're losing, but overall, if you have an edge in the market, you're going to come out on top.
Yeah, excellent point. Just one last thing about the why that you said. Maybe our editor Santiago can later add this video that I want to mention in there. So there is a video from Steve Jobs going around. It's one of his very early videos, like he was probably around 35, near 40. And then they asked him a question that I don't know what was the question. The video starts from the answer. And he says, probably an advice to some people. And he says, you know, we put the video after this, so you'll watch it if we don't get into the copyright issues. But he says that when I was growing up, people were telling me that, you know, accept the life the way it is. You know, grow up, get a college degree, get married, a mortgage, don't try to bushmash too much, just happy life, save a little bit, and then do the things. And then he said that I realized that life is beyond that. Life is something that you can shape it. You know, you can do things with it if you want to. You know, you can just poke it from one side and then something from the other side pops up and you can control it, you can own it, you can manage it. And that stayed with me. I think I saw that video in 2012. I'm gonna find it on YouTube. And that really stuck with me, Mark. And I said, if Steve Jobs, who built the biggest company in the world, says that, hey, you know, you can do things if you want. If you really want it, you can do it. Then you can do it. You did it.
Yeah.
You, after military, did it. I did it. I came from Iran and I started having this life. Santiago is from Ecuador. He decided to come to Canada. I mean, everyone in their own life, they make that changes. So believe in that why that you mentioned. Believe in that. And you know, you can do it in your own things. And not everybody is dreaming the same thing. You know, everybody has the same dream. Your dream was to stay with family. My dream was to travel the world, and trading gave me that. But anyways, regardless, watch the video after this. Thank you so much. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions that you have in the comments. We appreciate like or subscribe to our channel. We really like to grow our channel, and the only way that we can grow our channel is organically. If you enjoyed it, give us a shout out in social media, share this video with friends and family, and let's watch the Steve Jobs video together. Bye.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.